Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? You should check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Pictorum Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. Instead of a boring old tie, get him a historic baseball photo taken by Henry High Sandham at the historic Polo Grounds Stadium in New York City during the 1894 Temple Cup. Or, if he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL poster. These are so good looking that you'll be amazed how they turn out. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order.
We have a website called Jersey Dispatch. You got to talk about jerseys. And we have tonight an NHL jersey guys. He goes by on social media and Twitter and Instagram, Dan Oliveto. And we have him here talking about hockey history and jerseys coming up in a moment. Hi, my name's Darren Hayes, and I know you've heard me on the Pigskin Dispatch talking about football history for years. Well, now I'm on a new mission, a quest to find sports history in other sports as well as football by learning through the jerseys and the apparel and the gear that the players wore and the franchises supplied their teams. It's an educational trip, and I'm taking you with me day by day, player by player, uniform by uniform. The Sports Jersey Dispatch.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my friends. This is Darren Hayes of the Sports Jersey Dispatch podcast, and welcome once again to the Pigpen. We have a really special treat here today. We try to cover all of team sports, and we have a real privilege to talk to a gentleman that on Twitter calls himself the NHL jersey guy, Dan Oliveto. Dan, welcome to the Pigpen.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate the invite. Happy to come on board. I am the NHL jersey guy on both Twitter and Instagram. I sell jerseys, any jerseys, new, old, CCM, Coho, Adidas, you name it, it's probably passed through my hands. Got a strong passion for hockey jerseys and looking forward to discussing the history of jerseys, my passion, and answering any questions you have, Darren.
Okay, great. Well, I guess before we get into it, why don't you, if you're selling the jerseys, let's get your website or where people can go to find these jerseys at, and we'll plug it again at the end of the show too.
Yeah, so it's actually, I do all of my commerce through Twitter and Instagram. I don't actually have a .com site. So I sell through PayPal. People can DM me on jerseys that I put up pictures of for sale. And then they DM me, they PayPal me, and I send them a shipping notification, and they get it in 2 to 3 days. If they're stateside, if they're abroad, obviously that's a little bit slower.
Okay. All right. That's think everything's a little bit slower everywhere in these days and age. That's for sure. How did you get into the passion of liking hockey jerseys to the point of calling yourself the NHL jersey guy?
Yeah. So, growing up, it's actually kind of funny. You think in the Northeast, everyone's a big hockey fan. Not where I grew up. So I'm from Jersey, Central Jersey to be exact. And probably the only one of my friends that's a big hockey fan. And I really own that. And one thing that I've noticed is hockey jerseys, unlike the other major sports in North America, are extremely unique. They're the only jersey with, a big bold logo on the front. And just the player on the back. So, for me, that was eye-catching. The different colors and stripings that the league used or teams used caught my eye, and I would wear them to school, and people would be like, "What is that? Who is that? I want to know what team that is." And it kind of took off, and now with the internet and being able to check scores, it's a little bit easier to comb through my collection and see what teams are playing and who I want to root for that night. But yeah, growing up, in the 90s, that was kind of the heyday for hockey jerseys. I think that's when teams kind of went for their boldest patterns, as you can see with the Mighty Ducks. But and I've got a few over here when we get into a little bit more of the history of where the NHL has been and where it's going. But for me, it was the eye-catching colors and growing up in the boldest era for jerseys.
Yeah, I mean, hockey, like you say, it's so interesting, the logos, because you've got those classic logos that like the Canadians and the Blackhawks and
Yep.
some others, and then you got these newer ones, like the Mighty Ducks. I guess they're not so new anymore, and now the Kraken and
Yeah.
teams like that. It's just a unique blend of some really great colors, great logos, and just some awesome jerseys. And I take it you're a guy that calls them jerseys and not sweaters. I know there's that debate going around a little bit.
Yeah, I am. I call them jerseys. I have an older brother who calls them sweaters. So it might be a generational thing. But yeah, I am. That's why I am the jersey guy and not the sweater guy.
Yeah, probably wouldn't hold as much oomph if you said I'm the NHL sweater guy. Maybe they'd think of Mr. Rogers or something. Who knows? But yeah, I live, right on Lake Erie, so we get a lot of. As a kid, I can remember, watching Hockey Night in Canada. Coming from over in London, Ontario, coming across the lake, and we'd get tune in before cable. I'm a little older than you, Dan, so but that was like a guilty pleasure. We would get to watch Hockey Night in Canada and just see some of those great players and teams. Watching Gordie Howe near the end of his career, and Bobby Orr, and just some of the great hockey that was back then. And now we have some tremendous hockey too. So who, I take it, in Jersey, would you be following the Devils then, or are you?
Yeah, I am. I am a Devil fan. So growing up, being a Devil fan was easy. You had Marty Brodeur, the greatest goalie to ever play. So 3 Stanley Cups in a short span growing up was easy, but now it's a little bit tougher. The team seems to be sputtering, but I think that's a conversation for another day, that the team can't get out of its own way. But yeah, growing up, Devil fan easy. I'm still passionate, still go to the games, but they've fallen on some hard times here in the last 10 years.
Yeah, but I mean, despite what the team is doing today, they have probably one of the greatest logos around and names. It's just really cool. I was, we're just for the listener, we're recording this on February 14th. And I'm sorry, Dan, I'm a Penguins fan. So watching yesterday, having quite a bit with the logos of the Devils, playing the Penguins, I just sat there and admiring it, like, wow, that is really a cool jersey and logo that's on it. And do you have anything to talk about on that, any history or anything on the Devils?
Yeah, so the Devils, I mean, they've always kept their jerseys pretty conservative. So they moved from Kansas City to Colorado, then over to New Jersey. They started with colors green, white, and red. Then they modernized right about 92. They added black, so they changed the green in for the black. And they've been red and black with the same jersey from 92 all the way up until about 2020, I think, when Adidas took the contract. And the only thing that changed when Adidas took over the contract was the Devils had a stripe, an apron stripe that went around the bottom of the jersey, and Adidas got rid of that, but they kept the logo, they kept the colors, and they kept the striping on the sleeves. So the Devils, it's funny, when I go through different websites and they rank every team's jersey, it's always like, well, the Devils only had 2 until this year when they came out with the jersey alternate. So there wasn't a whole lot to rank. You either liked the green jerseys, which they dubbed the Christmas tree jerseys, or you hated them. I love them because it's something different, something new. But yeah, not a ton of history. Lou Lamoriello was the GM for a very, very long time, and he said, I'm only focused with winning, and I'm focused with the product on the ice. I don't want to get concerned with any of the cosmetic things that go into hockey. So, if you look at where he is now with the Islanders, the NHL went through something last year called a reverse retro. So they took old time jerseys and gave them a modern twist, usually tweaking colors, inverting stripes. The only change that the Islanders did was they flipped an orange and white stripe and made the jersey navy instead of a royal blue. So Lou wants nothing to do.
That's really risky. Yeah.
Lou wants nothing to do with the frills. He's all about the product on the ice. So next year, the NHL is going to bring back reverse retros, so people are saying. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. Maybe he'll flip the orange and white back and maybe make the jersey black or something subtle. But I'm not optimistic that they bring back any of their classics.
All right. But maybe before we get into more of the modern jerseys, though, I know you have a little bit of history on the jerseys that you want to talk about. Maybe you could fill us in on some of that.
Yeah. So, my history is, like I said, through the 90s and 2000s when the NHL was having their boldest impact, probably in an effort to grow the game. So you see a lot of teams with really, really interesting designs. So the NHL launched all these different designs. The Ducks. I've got a few jerseys over here that I'll pull over as I talk. But the NHL wanted to catch the fever of the 90s. So the bold look. They went out with patterns that the Coyotes wore, the Kachinas. So that might actually look a little bit familiar. The Coyotes did come back with that exact look. They went back to their 90s look in an effort to recapture kids like me who grew up, probably couldn't afford jerseys growing up with the allowance that they got, and now have full-time jobs and say, well, yeah, I want that. That's nostalgic.
Now, maybe we could describe it, because we're going to have this is a podcast, so listeners aren't visual. You and I are seeing it, but if you describe that Coyotes jersey a little bit, the Kachinas on the sleeve there, the Southwestern look to it.
So on the sleeves, there's sleeves, and around the collar, there's about a tribal pattern. There it is. There's about a tribal pattern that just says Phoenix Coyotes. So it's fairly, I'm going to say bold a lot on this podcast, but it's a very, very bold and unique look. And a lot of people around professional sports love it. I mean, the Coyote form's kind of an A for Arizona. And they really did a good job paying homage to the Native Americans that are living in Arizona.
Yeah, that's really cool. My mother lived down in Phoenix for a while, so I got familiar with that. And she actually flew some of the teams around. She was a flight attendant on sports jets, so she flew like when Gretzky was coaching and owning them. So she got to meet him and things like that, which is kind of cool to see.
Do you have any fun stories you can share about that?
Well, she couldn't, she wasn't allowed to take pictures or get autographs or anything. But there was one time, the year that she was flying the Boston Celtics when they won the NBA championship, and she landed with them and it took off and flew the Blackhawks and the night that they won the cup. So within 2 nights, she had the NBA championship trophy and the Stanley Cup on her planes in 2 different nights. So 2 champion teams. So it's just kind of cool. So
those must have been super fun flights.
yeah, definitely. And actually, my next door neighbor he played on the Canadian junior team with Gretzky.
Wow.
So and he played lower levels. We had the ECHL here back in the 70s and 80s, Erie Blades.
Okay.
They played in the same league as the Johnstown Chiefs, if you remember from the movie Slapshot.
Yep.
That was Johnstown Chiefs. So that was the big rival back then. But he played on that team, but he played with Gretzky on the Canadian junior team. So it's just, so they had a little bit of reminiscing too through my mother. So
wow,
that's awesome. That's my claim to fame in hockey. So
that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Other than that, Connor McDavid played here. We have an OHL.
Erie Otters.
Erie Otters, yes.
Yeah.
And Connor McDavid played here a few years back. And a couple of times you'd be out to eat and you see, Connor and some of the other Otters would sit down at the table next to you and you get to say, hey, pretty good dude. But a lot more popular now.
Sure. Yeah, of course. He's one of the best of our generation. I don't think he'll be as good as Gretzky, but I don't think anybody will be.
No, still pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, well, okay. So we had the Coyotes. You said you had a couple other jerseys to talk about.
Yeah. So you look at, and I mentioned the Islanders and their reverse retro or lack thereof. A lot of people were hoping the Islanders would bring back something called the Fisherman Jersey. Now, to describe what this jersey looks like, imagine the Gordon Fisherman, the seafood company,
I'm picturing a yellow raincoat,
holding a stick, and it says Islanders, and it looks like it has a toothpaste swirl on it.
Oh yeah, you're
So
right.
you tell me
Wow.
if I nailed that.
Oh, you did. You did. There looks like there might be some trademark infringement by the Islanders. The fish stick guys will be chasing them there.
So this jersey, this is probably the biggest uh, cult jersey. Either you love it or you hate it. A lot of people hated it. I think it's starting to get a lot of popularity now because it's been retired for so long, and every year the Islanders tease some memorabilia with it, and we think we're going to get a relaunch of it. But like I said earlier, with Lou Lamoriello behind the scenes, I don't know how soon this jersey is going to be coming back. But fun fact about that jersey, that's the jersey that set me off, really. So that's the jersey that made me fall in love with hockey, really. I mean, the colors were so bright and vibrant, and it was just a fun logo. And I think what probably played a little bit into it was growing up when I don't know, maybe 3, and my brother was obviously a diehard Devil fan, and that's how I became the Devil fan. But I wanted to be a little bit different, so I would ask for things with that logo on them, and that's really what set it off. So I think if they ever launched it again, I would definitely buy it. I would wear it proudly, despite being a Devil fan. But that, I think, in my opinion, is probably one of the best jerseys ever made in the history of any major sport.
Now, how do your fellow New Jerseyites feel about you wearing something from the big city across the river?
Yeah, so it's because the Devils are such a small market team, and a lot of my friends, their parents grew up, without the Devils. The Devils came here in 82, 83. They were already Islander fan, Ranger fans, and some Flyer fans. So I am really an outcast, rooting for the Devils and being such a big hockey fan. So they don't mind it. They actually like the culture thrill when I take jerseys out, and they're like, still from when I was in school, as I mentioned earlier, where it's, what jersey is that? Who is that? Where do they play? What are it's a culture thrill for everybody. And for me, it's just kind of showing off the collection that I've cultivated over the last, 10, 15 years.
Now, how are you pretty much equal distant from all 4 of those teams? You got the Devils, you got the Flyers, like you said, the Rangers and the Islanders. Are you all pretty like within driving distance to go watch a game if you had to go?
Oh yeah. So the Flyers are about 45 minutes to an hour. The Devils are 30 to 45. The Rangers, because you got to cross into the city, so it's a little bit longer, maybe an hour 15, where you take the train. And then the Islanders are the outcasts because they're out there on Long Island, and Long Island traffic is not to be messed with. Probably a 2 or 3 hour drive.
Well,
Doable.
I'm from Western Pennsylvania, so any traffic out there on your side streets is a lot for me to handle. I've gone to visit.
Yeah, it's a problem. But yeah, me and my brother, we always wanted to go to the Coliseum before they moved to their new arena this year. So last year was the last year for the Coliseum in Nassau, and thankfully in the back half of the year with COVID and everything going on, they opened up for fans. So we did get to see the Coliseum before they moved out. And we went on a Saturday. The game was at 7, and I think we had to leave the house about 3 to get there. So we're planning to go see the new arena in March. So I'll check in with you to see if the location's any better and it's a shorter drive.
Yeah, most definitely. Please do. Now, have you been to any other arenas other than those 4?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I've been to, I think, 16.
Wow, okay.
So that's a passion of mine, is sports tourism. So I've been to 22 ballparks, major league ballparks, and then 16 hockey arenas. It's a little bit interesting. So the hockey arenas, you're really judging them on what the outside can bring to you, because obviously the playing surface is the same everywhere. How's fan engagement, and then baseball obviously is very different because every field is custom made, it feels. But yeah, I love to see the cities that these teams play in. I love to see what fan experiences they can give their fans on game day. Going when the team is good is obviously a plus, but sometimes calendars, the way they are, you just have to go whenever. Like for my bachelor party in November, we went to go see the Coyotes, and they're bad. Just to put it bluntly, they're bad. They were actually playing Minnesota, so there was a ton of snowbirds in from Minnesota, to the point where when the Wild scored, it sounded like a home game for them rather than the Coyotes. But fan experience is pretty low. I think the Coyotes have been in the news for negative reasons lately with their arena deal. But yeah, that arena probably one of the worst I've been to. It's bland. Fan experience is low. They have a neat little mall outside the arena where there's bars and things like that. But when the team's not good, there's not a whole lot going on.
Now, how crazy is that to be? You're in the middle of the desert, it's 100 degrees outside, and then you go and you're watching guys skating around on ice inside. It's sort of still blows my mind a little bit.
That's my kind of hockey. So, I was in the pool the day of, swimming in the morning, and then put my shorts on and I'm in an ice rink, and it's, 75 degrees at night. Obviously the desert is dropping a little bit, but it was awesome. It was how I think hockey should be played is you'd think it should be cold, but it's nice going to the rink in shorts and not having to wear a jacket.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, do they still? I know they were having problems like when the Florida Panthers first started playing, and they were having some success, especially like in June and July when, or not June, July, May and June when they were having the finals and well into the playoffs. They're having trouble with it being so warm out that the ice was, getting a little slushy, slowing the skaters down a little bit. Did you notice any of that in Arizona?
Not really. I think they do a pretty good job of keeping up with it there. Funny story on the slush, and it's not a game that I went to. The NHL did an outdoor series at Lake Tahoe last year during COVID, so no fans could go. It was the Avalanche and I think Vegas, and they played on an outdoor rink in Lake Tahoe, and the sun was beating down, and they had to pause the game midway through. The ice was slush. There was divots in the ice. Players were worried they were going to get hurt. So the NHL said, you know what, we're going to pause it and we're going to resume it at night. I think the game kicked back off at 11 p.m. Eastern time. And so, lengthy delay. But yeah, I think that's the worst ice condition I think I've ever heard of was fans or players petitioning the refs, hey, we got to get off. I mean, we're going to get really hurt. The ice is literally melting when we skate on it. But yeah, in the buildings, I think Florida has a unique issue, probably because their buildings are packed because they're good. Right. And the Coyotes, maybe they're not generating that much body heat because there's not many fans going. But yeah, the ice looked pretty good when we were there.
Now, I haven't paid attention to it lately, though, but does Florida still throw the octopus out on the ice? Weren't they the ones that were doing that about a decade ago?
So the Panthers throw rats on the ice.
Rat, okay.
And I think it's because they're hunting. I don't honestly know the full story behind that, but the Red Wings are the ones that throw the octopus.
Okay, Red Wings. Okay.
So they've tried to really, really curtail that. They don't like it. I think PETA started getting on their case with fans bringing in octopus. I thought it was a great tradition, really riled the fans up. An unbelievable experience going to the Joe. That was another arena me and my brother went to in the last year, the Joe Louis Arena. And again, they were really bad, but Red Wings fans packed a house. It felt like a playoff game, and the team was nowhere near the playoffs, and it was April. So that was an unbelievable experience. Unfortunately, didn't see the octopus, but if I could travel back in time, I would tell everybody, you got to go see a game at the Joe because it's electric. It's a true old barn. One concourse where everybody files into, you either going up or down. It was what an experience. I think one of my favorite hockey experiences outside of going to the finals in 2012 with the Devils. Okay.
All right. All right, now getting back into the jerseys a little bit. Okay, besides having a Devils jersey on, because that's your team, what's your favorite jersey? And maybe it's not one that you even own, but what's your favorite jersey of all time? And let me know a little bit why it's your favorite.
Yeah, gotta be the Fisherman Jersey that I mentioned a little bit earlier from the Islanders. Like I said, it's the vibrant colors, the unique logo. and maybe just that little bit of rivalry with my brother growing up. Obviously, I think I wised up and came over to the right side as a Devil fan. But yeah, that I think, when they were on the road, it would be a navy jersey, and home it'd be white. It popped. The orange on it popped. The turquoise on it popped. It was really, really eye catching, and I think that is probably why it's my favorite. I wish I could go back and ask myself when I was young, why do you like this so much, and carry that knowledge with me. But yeah, if looking at it now, it's right next to me. It's all the different colors mesh well together, and it's just a unique design. So a lot of teams go with straight or slanted stripes. The toothpaste swirl, for lack of a better term, look of this jersey is just something so different and unique, even for the 90s. We talked about the Coyotes a little bit doing their tribal patterns, which was unique, but the Islanders really using something swirly. Looks like it could be maybe a minor league jersey. It just was eye catching. And like I said, if the Islanders ever brought it back, I think I'd have to buy a reboot of it as well.
Now we had I just went to an Otters game. They were playing Flint. I think Flint Firebirds, I think is their nickname, on Saturday night. They were here in Erie, and they had breast cancer night at the Otters. So the Otters came out in these. Normally they're like a dark blue with some red in it. Of course, they change colors all the time. That's their normal jerseys, but they had this fluorescent pink jersey on with is either black or dark blue. And boy, did they pop. I took some pictures of it, and I'll have to post those up on there now that I think of it. But they were really pretty cool, just for a special, unique jersey. Of course, they were raffling them off and
Sure.
trying to make raise money for the breast cancer to help the ladies out. And I just thought that was kind of a neat thing. But I think my all-time favorite, and like I said, I'm a little bit old school, but I love like the 69, 70 Penguins jerseys back in their light blue.
Yeah.
With the retro penguin with with the hockey stick, and he's getting ready to take a face off or something, and those big bold like white stripes down the sleeve. I just love that, and it's just so simple, but it's cool. And you get to see the powder blues every once in a while.
Yeah, fun fact about the powder blues, they wore them, I think, for a special event night, maybe a retro night. Crosby got a concussion that night. He came back. They wore him again the next season. He got another concussion. He came back. They wore him again. He got hurt, to the point where management was like, "We're done. We're these are bad luck. We're not wearing these anymore." So they put them on the shelf, and I don't know if they revisit them after Crosby retires, but I thought that was pretty funny that you have ownership who sees a money potential in selling retro jerseys to say, no, we can't take on the superstition that our best player is going to get hurt again.
Wow, I didn't realize that, but yeah, maybe I don't like them anymore. Sid the kid's getting hurt with them. You don't want that to happen. So, okay, now everybody has that team that when they face your team, it's the team that you just strikes your iron, and you just, you don't really like them. Like, you hate them. Okay. They're your rival. And they always have that one player that's just, a real pain in the ass, you really don't like them, but everybody has it. But you look at them, boy, their jerseys are just really cool. And the dude's a great player. Do you have a player in a jersey like that in mind that?
So I hate the Rangers. Every bone in my body. I think they're the least favorite team of all four. I cannot stand anything Rangers. But you look at the Liberty jerseys that they had with the Statue of Liberty had, it said NYR. Those were, again, I think either early 2000s or late 90s, but those popped. And Gretzky wore that for a year. So I think if I ever came across, I don't have any Ranger jerseys in my collection, and I don't know if I ever could bring myself to do it, because I know I'd never wear it. But I think if I ever got a really, really good beat on a Gretzky jersey with a Liberty hat, I think I'd have to buy it. I think I'd have to pull the trigger on it. I've got, I think, probably 100 jerseys at this point. None are Rangers.
Wow.
that would have to be the first and probably the only one.
Okay, so other than the Rangers jersey in your collection right now, how many teams do you have? Or how many teams don't you have? Maybe that's
I think it's better to go that way. So I'm missing the Flyers and the Kraken just because they're new. And I think that's it. I'm combing through my head. I think I'm down, and obviously the Rangers. So Rangers, Flyers, Kraken.
Wow, two of your local teams, huh? That's
the Flyers. They're another one. It's like, am I ever really going to wear this? I don't think so. But maybe at some point when I get older, just to complete the collection to say I have every team. But I think just those three are the only ones that I'm missing.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Very impressive. Okay, so now tell us a little bit about, I see your posts all the time, and maybe share with the listeners what besides your selling of it, what do you usually share on your social media posts?
Yeah, so I mean, if you can filter through my my rage tweets when the Devils are going nowhere fast, you'll see me just commenting basically on special event jerseys that are going on. It caught my eye this morning. I didn't see it, and I'll probably tweet about it when we hang up here. Is the Springfield Isotopes or the Springfield Thunderbirds? They are a AHL affiliate, I believe, of the Bruins. Could be wrong on that, but they had a jersey, a special event jersey called the Springfield Isotopes, and it was a Simpsons themed jersey, and it's fan designed, with everything that looks like the Albuquerque Isotopes or the Springfield Isotopes, with that Simpsons spin on it. Now that was probably one of the more unique things I've seen. I love them playing up their Springfield name, and just catching eye. So generally, things like that. A little bit of a tangent there, but just catching my eye. What teams are wearing special event jerseys? Are there throwbacks that they're going to that night? How are jersey matchups looking? So. Just kind of all over. I think when the NHL comes out with the reverse retro again next year, I'll probably get in, a little bit deep and as to what jerseys I really like out of that, what I don't. I think I did a ranking chart when they first came out with, I'll call it reverse retro 1.0. But I'll probably do that again for a reverse retro 2.0. Who are the winners, losers of that? So kind of all over. It's not really structured. It's more of, what's catching my eye at any given point, and a whole lot of rage tweets at the Devils.
Okay, well, hey, that's part of fandom. You gotta, you're a passionate fan when you can scream at your own team, and I believe me, I do that on my teams. That's for sure. I'm a Steelers fan in football, and I threw many things at the TV this year, so I got quite upset.
Hey, at least you made the playoffs. I'm a Giant fan, so that's a story for another day.
Yeah. Well, we have quite a few Giants fans here too. Actually, my wife's family is all from Vermont originally, and they're big Giants fans. So we had some back and forth over the last couple decades. So it's been kind of fun. But
nice.
Well, Dan, why don't you go ahead? Let's plug your social media a little bit again, and so for people who want to pick up some jerseys from you. And
sure.
I guess maybe tell us what kind of jerseys can they get? Can they get like retro jerseys, or is it all?
Oh yeah, so I don't do a whole lot of special requests just because it's so hard to field, and people have some pretty unique requests. I can't do special requests. I have, between Twitter and Instagram, obviously there's overlap, probably 3,000 followers between the two that are maybe unique. If everyone sent me a personalized request, there's no way I'd be able to get to them all. So, I'm combing through the market, what's a cheap, jersey that's authentic. I do not sell knockoffs. I've gotten that question a ton. These are all 100%, licensed replicas from actual manufacturers. They're not from overseas. They are the jerseys that you would go and find in a store. But Yeah, you can get anything. So I'll look for jerseys that I think are a pretty good deal. So obviously, now that Adidas has a contract, the price of jerseys has gone up astronomically, and it's really not easy to buy jerseys as a fan. It's just so taxing on the wallet. So I like to give that outlet that, I find jerseys that you can have for a fairly reasonable price, that, are well below what Adidas is charging for theirs, or what CCM would be charging. And, if there's nostalgic jerseys like the few that I mentioned on this podcast, that if you went to eBay and tried to buy it on sight unseen, it would cost you a few $100. But, come to my page at NHL Jersey Guy on both Twitter and Instagram, and you can get it for quite a bit less. The percentages vary. Obviously, the market it comes and goes like anything else. But yeah, I try and give that affordable outlet for individuals who want to grow their collection but don't want to break the bank.
Hey, that's great. Now, what's the hottest jersey going right now on your sites? What's everybody after? Or maybe maybe there's a handful. Give me.
Yeah, so I think the Coyotes Kachina print, that one is kind of a forever green. So some people don't like it the way the Adidas jerseys are cut, so they'll look for an old school CCM. So that's a pretty hot one. I think any of the reverse retros that came out, because those were limited edition Adidas, those are wildly popular, and I think those on the secondhand market are going anywhere from $300 to $500. So those are nuts right now. And then anything Thrashers or Whalers, and Nordiques, so kind of like defunct teams, those are evergreen. You'll find anyone on any given day that would want one. So I try and keep my eyes peeled for those, just because those are a lot of the requests that I get. Hey, I really want on a baby blue Thrashers jersey. It's like, well, some drops I have them, some drops I don't. The drop that I have coming up on February 18th, I have 2 baby blue and a white Reebok. So, if you want a Thrashers jersey, come talk to me. But yeah, I think defunct teams will be forever green. And I think, retro of any of the Canadian teams will also be evergreen, just because the fandom just north of the border.
Okay. Hey, defunct teams, that's a great topic there. And there's plenty of them for the NHL. So, wow. So if you want to try to find one of those defunct teams, everybody follow him, Dan Olivetto, the NHL Jersey Guy, on Twitter and on Instagram. And he'll try to hook you up with the jersey you're looking for. Dan, I appreciate you coming on and sharing the history and sharing your passion with us and on the Sports Jersey Dispatch.
Yeah, thanks so much, Darren. Really, really enjoyed our conversation. And anytime you want to have me again, I'm more than happy to jump on.
This penalty kill is almost over. I got to get back out on the ice. But thanks again for joining us for another great edition of Sports Jersey Dispatch Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow. We invite you to check out our websites, jerseydispatch.com and pigskindispatch.com. Not only see the daily sports history, but to experience the preservation of great events and people that play the games. Find us on Pigskin Dispatch. It's also on social media outlets of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel. You get all your daily sports history. Pigskin Dispatch is happy to be associated with the Sports History Network, the sports headquarters of yesteryear, found at sportshistorynetwork.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row 1 catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row 1 Pictorum Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.